Hi foodies, welcome back. I'm going to show you how to do this nice Sunday dinner you can share with your friends or family. And first, I start off by cleaning off my turkey wings and I'm adding those in there. A quick, easy cleaning method I do is a little bit of vinegar, some cold water, and lime slices. I like to use to clean off my turkey wings. Um, you can do however you choose, but this is how I do mine. Okay, so this is where I add my vinegar. I did do, I believe, 1 cup of vinegar and, like I said, lime slices and cold water. Um, yeah, I did cut the slices off camera. It's pretty simple. It doesn't need to be perfect on the slices. Just make sure they're sliced up so you're using it like a sponge and cleaning them off. It's pretty simple to do. Okay, so I am scrubbing them. I did a few of them off camera. I kind of had like a little technical difficulty, but I am rinsing them off now. I think I did that maybe 2 or 3 times. Um, but yeah, I rinsed them off, wipe them off, scrub them off with just the cold water running under them, and then rinsing them, pouring that extra out of the bowl, and then repeating it. Basically, pretty simple. Basically, after I rinse them off, I now add the seasonings. I did list how much I used in the text bar, and I did say 4 tablespoons. It may look like a lot, but to be honest, turkey wings are pretty bland and tough before you cook them. So make sure you add a decent amount because you do want it to be flavorful. And if you don't feel comfortable with adding as much as I did, you can always do half of what I did. Okay, I do start mixing them. Please don't mind. My hands are very clean. And I'm cooking for my family, so no worries. Yeah, I'm just mixing them in, making sure they all get coated with that mojo and seasoning mix. And then I start adding in my broth. I did not list how much broth I used, but I believe I did about 1 cup. Then I stirred on my turkey wings, smoked turkey, and added that into boiling water for my cabbage. Cabbage don't really take that long. I would say about 2 hours. I like to prep my turkey wings first before I actually put the cabbage inside. So what you're seeing now is kind of like after already an hour and about an hour of the turkey wings cooking in the boiling water with seasoning. And I'm just slicing that up. So now what I did is, like, after slicing it in half, I like to do it in fourths. So I cut each ends again, and then I was basically pointing at that extra stem piece in the middle of it. You need to take out. And then I'm just slicing that up into smaller pieces. But yeah, I start basically slicing them into smaller pieces, and as you see, I'm just like taking off the bruised pieces. I'm like, I could cut around it, to be honest. My grandmother would kill me if she see this, but yeah, I just was like, I was being a little lazy this day. I just was like, forget it. I'll just throw that away. But yeah, I'm slicing into smaller pieces, not too thin, not too big, because it does thin out as you cook them. But I'm, as you see, I put them to the side into another bowl. Oh, I cut that too big, but yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We gonna get right. Yeah, I'm putting it into another bowl on the side so it can get out of the way, and just slicing those other pieces in, repeating the same steps for all 4 pieces that I cut. Okay, so after cutting all the pieces, I did do like a quick cleaning bath for the cabbage. Now, you don't have to do this, but this is my method. I do a little bit of vinegar, half a cup, and cold water, and then rinse and repeat this step. I won't show you the rinsing process on camera because it, to me, is just too much. You pretty much would get the understanding of rinsing it and then repeating it. So I did that about 2 or 3 times. And then I'm just taking out the extra big pieces from the stem. Okay. So here's where I start prepping for the rice. I did do a green pepper, a tomato, and a white onion. And I'm basically just like taking those extra stem pieces out and the seeds. I rinse them a little bit to the side. You can't really see, but I rinsed them, the seeds off to the side of it. And then I basically dice them into smaller pieces because we are going to like slight saute them in a pot. Okay, so then I added 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. The pot was already hot, just so that you are aware. It was on medium high, and then I added those vegetables I diced up on the side there, and I'm just mixing them in so they won't overcook. And then I started adding in my seasonings, and the seasonings that I use, I did place in the text bar so that you are aware of what I used. And again, you can always do it to your liking, however you choose to season, or you can do it my way. It's up to you. Your choice, your liking. I added those red beans, kidney beans inside. They were canned. Okay, don't judge me. I was feeling a little bit lazy, so I did them in the can. I drained them out before actually pouring them in, and then I added the washed rice. I did 2 cups of rice, and just so that you are aware, every cup of rice you use, you need 2 cups of water. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And this is what it looked like when it got done. I did started working on the mac and cheese right after I let the water boil and cook the rice. I did about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and a little bit of salt, just so that the noodles won't stick to the bottom of the pan as it cooked. I did rinse and drained with water. I added 1 egg and a half a cup of milk to that, with that together, and then added my seasoning. I listed the seasonings. I did maybe about a half a tablespoon of each that I used. And here is where I'm just like sprinkling it over. I didn't actually use a measuring cup. Okay, I did, but if you want to use like a measure or something to measure it out, if you're fairly new at doing it, then you can do that. But to me, I just kind of eyed it because I already know how much I'll need to use. I added black pepper and a little pinch of salt. You don't need too much salt because we already have cheese, and cheese has salt in it, so you don't need that much salt. And I'm just mixing it all in, the seasonings. Making sure it all gets mixed inside. That's when I add my salt. I like my noodles very flavorful. I don't like it bland. I added melted butter. You can do melted butter or room temperature. Quick, easy method to make it melted. Just maybe about 12 to 10 seconds in the microwave. I added my cheese. I started with mozzarella and Kobe and Monterey Jack. And I'm just sprinkling that inside. I maybe did about 1 cup and a half. And then I'm mixing that all in. And then what I am going to do is take that back to the pot that I already drained with water. The water is out of the pot, and I re-add the noodles back into the pot and just basically let the cheese melt. You don't want to over melt it, so you like cook that back onto like a low medium heat, so it's not burning the cheese. You're just melting it. And then I am going to start working on buttering my pan up. Okay, this is my mother's method. This is really her recipe, just with a twist of my own. So I kind of butter the bottom of the pan so the cheese don't stick. And as I stated, this is for my family, so I'm not cooking for anyone else here. So don't worry about me using my hands, okay? You just want to make sure everything is slathered up. And this is how it looked after I took it out the pot. Hold on, we gotta do a slow motion for that. Look how the cheese look. It's nice and cheesy. That's how you want it to look. You don't want it to be overly cheesy, overly wet. Just a nice cheese mix. Look at that drop. Perfection. Now I begin layering it. This is another one of my mother's method. You layer the mac into the pan. You start off with a layer of cheese. I don't just dump my mac into the pan and then add cheese cubes. I like to layer it to make sure each layer has a decent amount of cheese on it. And I started off with using the Kobe and Monterey Jack. And then I add a layer of the noodle and cheese mix and just spread it out into the pan. And then I'm going to repeat the step, kind of like a lasagna in a way, just repeating that step over again, adding more cheese. This time I think I added mozzarella and then the rest of that Kobe. and a little bit of sharp cheddar. And then I'm adding that last layer of noodle and cheese mix on top of that cheese layer. And then we're going to layer the top again with the last little bit of the cheese that we have in the packaging. So in total, you should be using about 4 cheese packages. It's not for a big pan. This maybe can feed about 6 people if you're cutting it into big slices. You just want to make sure every noodle is covered with the cheese on top. And then we're going to put that in the oven and bake that. So my oven is already preheated and everything before I added the noodles into the pan. That's for 350, and this is what it looked like when it got done. I let it cool off a little bit before I actually dig in. I don't like my cheese too wet. But yeah, I started working on my sweet potatoes, and I already let them boil while I cooked the noodles for the mac and cheese. So they already was boiling in the pot with just water, nothing else added, and they are hot. Normally I let them sit and let cool off, but I was in a rush this day. I just was ready to sit down and eat and just relax. So I just was like, let me get this over with. It is super hot. So caution, okay? I would advise for you to wait until it cools down. But me, I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and just pinch it off little by little without getting myself burnt. And then I'm kind of like just skinning the extra off. This is my grandmother's method. I can't show too much, okay? But yeah, this is basically what I do. Well, how she taught me on how to make that sweet potato pie. And we're just skinning it off. And I'm making sure there is no like dirt or strings or nothing extra. You don't want to be chewing on nothing weird while you're eating your sweet potato. So you want to make sure all of that is off before you hit it with the blender and stuff. And I only did 2 because 2 can make about 2 or 3 pies. But I did small potatoes, so this would make about 2 pies. And I'm just pulling it off, doing the same thing like I did the other. And I'm gonna just speed it up here because you get the point. All right, so I did transfer them into the bowl, and I used like a potato masher and just mashed that in so it's not any extra chunky pieces, because you want your batter to be nice and smooth. So you just smash them in like you're making a mashed potato, and make sure every corner is nice and smushed. I began adding some cream cheese. I did warm up the cream cheese a little bit, but you can let it sit out for an hour before you actually cook it. But a quick warm up method, just pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds You want to add 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 1 egg, and then just begin to mix that all over again. Make sure everything is nicely blended together. I did start using my whisk at one point because I was like, yeah, that masher was not getting it. So I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and use my whisk to whisk it all in. At this point, it was kind of already like nicely blended. So I started adding my granulated sugar and then about 2 tablespoons of my vanilla extract. Not too much because you don't want it to be too sweet, but sweet, like the sweet potato is not really sweet. So you want to add a decent amount to make it taste good. A little bit of cinnamon into that. I did add a little bit of nutmeg. I want to say about the same amount of cinnamon that I used. And then I added another tablespoon because my son was like, yeah, well, so I added one more. And then I did 1 tablespoon of that condensed milk because it was already like loose. You don't want it to be too thin because you want it to still make sure it's like a good like portion of thickness. You don't want it to be too thick either, but you want it to be just right. So I actually let that sit in the freezer, not in the freezer, I'm sorry, in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes before I actually popped them into the pie crust. Oh my God, do you see? This pie crust was giving me such a hard time. When I tell you, I kept trying to fold it up, but my kitchen was already like super hot, so it was like falling apart. And there's when I like pour it in. You want to make sure you are not over pouring into your pie crust at all because it will overfill. The pie crust do rise, like the filling rises up, so you want to make sure you're not overfilling that. I don't use a deep dish. You can use a deep dish, but that's not a deep dish. My mama will, she would kill me if she ever see me using a deep dish in a sweet potato pie recipe. Now I just basically like sprinkle the cinnamon on top. Now you can use any type of like topping. My mother loves to use coconut. I'm not a coconut fan, so I do cinnamon. I do it the way my grandmother taught me. I do a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg, and then I pop them into the oven for about 35 minutes on 360. And this is the finished product. It was still hot, so I like to let them cool off before I actually slice them. And this is how everything looked at the end. It was so, when I say it was so good, it was so good. I love me a good, nice and easy Sunday dinner. I did the meatballs off camera. Sorry, y'all, but I might do another video on how I do my meatballs. But I don't want to give too much of my secrets away, But it was delicious. Look at the cheese on the mac. And I hope y'all enjoy it. Bye for now. Bye.